Hello, how's everybody doing? Okay, I am making this is going to be a short because at first I'm going to say that I am coming out with music videos soon, but I had to change the date because the studio that I work in is it was closed yesterday, so I'm doing it today at 3. Okay, now I'm going to go on with this other video because that's going to be what I'm going to make for the short. But I want to tell you, I got really sick last week. It was like so sick. But you know, like, because I'm old and I'm different, I usually, every time I get sick, I always say, what happened? What happened? Okay? And I figure out what happened. Because after a while, you get sick every time you get sick. I mean, and you're a person like I am, you think like, or anybody, you just, I don't know, I'm almost sure there's other people that do it. You think about, well, what happened? How did this happen? How did that happen? How did that happen? So I noticed a pattern, and I call it a cold. I can actually say I had a cold. But I also figured out what a cold meant. Okay, listen to this. Buckle your seatbelts. And I always wondered out what is a cold. First of all, it does probably have to do with the weather if you want it to, but I also think it has to do with something that you eat. It can happen so many different ways to have a cold. But I'm going to tell you what a cold means. I'm almost sure this is the exact meaning of it. Because nobody knows when they get a cold. They never like say, oh, what happened to me before I got a cold, right? So you don't know what it is. It could be the weather or it could not be the weather. It's just when you get a cold, you know it's a cold. But the cold means you get cold. Can you believe it? A cold means that your body is always at a certain temperature and now it's cold. You understand? Like, for instance, whenever you get a cold, it's because you're cold. And that's what happens when you get sick. And then when I was sick, oh, I got a cold. I mean, it was hot out, and that's the difference. Is in the summertime when you get a cold, it's a little bit different because it's hot outside. So your body is like, it's just a different kind of feeling, okay? So your body kind of adjusts. It's kind of easier, I think, because your body adjusts when you're in the sun because it's a cold, but your body is being heated up, okay? Which is probably good because you get the vitamins from the sun. But when you come home at night and like when you have air conditioner, you become cold, like having a cold, and that's what I did because you wanted to sweat out. When I was young, that's what my mother taught us. You wear a lot of clothes and you just sweat it out. And the only thing that's different, the only thing about a cold is it takes a week. I'm almost sure it takes a week. I mean, you want it to be done in one day, but it has like this process that it goes through. And I don't get a cold much, not that much. First of all, I didn't know what it is. Now I know what a cold is when you get cold. But I've I've um I've always was very, very how can you say attentive to what happened to me before I got a cold, especially as I get older and older and older. And then I go, because you got to calculate information. And I figured out, because it has some kind of, it always has, I notice, and people don't realize why they get a cold because they don't really realize everything that they do. But I noticed something with me, especially being vegan. So it might just be a vegan cold. It has something to do with sugar, a certain kind of sugar. Because I remember the last time I got a cold, I got a cold because it was a cold, I was cold. The sickness, first of all, I like to eat. Okay, I already told you about my eating, my disorder. It's just that I have a compulsive eating habit, but it's under control, especially with being a vegan. It's totally under control. So last time I was eating these things, it was like these chocolate. I was at work. I had these like chocolate things, and I would eat them, and I would eat them, and I couldn't. I mean, like it's controlled as far as being a vegan, but I still would like eat them when I got a chance, you know. And I mean, I'm not talking about if it was under regular conditions, it would be like too many. But because being a vegan, you're very much controlled. Because you have to eat certain things. I mean, not that you make yourself eat it, but your body just won't eat like a whole bunch of things in one time because your body takes over and it goes, okay, this is enough. Okay. But anyway, I like these things, but I was eating too many of them. And I kept eating them, and I got that boom. It's like a sugar, not an imbalance, but a sugar is something from this chemical. And every time I get it, I think about my chemistry class in school, the sugars, and putting the sugars together. You know what I mean? I don't know why, my mind works like that. And I can see the sugar, that this sugar has a problem with my diet. It just off balances things, or it's more like it's too much. And then when it's too much, it just forms this thing I guess in the lungs, or not in a cold. It makes your body cold, so it has to do something with your lungs. But I can feel that it's happening. And if I eat that too much, if I keep going and I know that it's wrong, then I'll get that, and then it'll go all the way through. All the way through this mechanism of being a cold or whatever sickness it is. And then I mean, it's not like bad, but it's just like a cold, you know. But it's like a cold, but it's not really like a cold. But it's a cold because your body gets cold. And it fights off some kind of thing that the sugar has in it. It's not really a good sugar, but it doesn't like this sugar. And I know it's a sugar, a certain kind of sugar. I mean, because I remember you can actually die from a certain kind of sugar, because if you eat it like constantly over and over and over again, it's not really good. But anyway, as a vegan, your body takes over with this thing to where it cleans out this sugar, and it doesn't want this sugar. And then after I finish like the sickness or whatever, I don't want to see another one of those sugars. So it was this chocolate thing, and I said, no, I don't want any more of that sugar. I can't eat any more of that sugar. I can't eat any more of that, chocolate. So anyway, I stopped. So that was the last time. So that was the last time. So this time, okay, then there was other times where I was paying attention. I made this coffee, so this is gonna be a pretty good video because I made some changes with this sugar thing that I had. So anyway, how can I say? Okay, so I did have some other problems, but I listened to my vegan body or whatever, because there's this one thing, and I talked about before. There was something I like. It wasn't really vegan, but I would eat it all the time. But I noticed it had warnings. It would say, okay, eat it, and I would eat it. And some people at work, they would tell me, you're not really vegan if you don't. I said, I do. I make mistakes sometimes, but I do pay for them, and you do pay for them. So anyway, I know it had milk in it, and I would still eat it. It had milk, cream, maybe butter, but it had a lot of peanuts in it, and I really liked it. But I would eat it all the time, almost as if I'm doing something wrong. But I listened to my body, because every time I would eat it, I would feel this grossness. So I stopped it. So point blank, every time I see it, I don't eat it anymore, but I follow my, listening to my body. But then I started this, I told you I was doing these baked goods. And I knew that, like table sugar, I don't know what's in table sugar, but I know that it's very potent. And I know that as a vegan, because I used to drink it before I was a vegan, I always had sugar in my coffee, sugar in my tea. But when you become vegan, because you eat a lot, I think because you eat a lot of starch, your sugar, you just don't eat any excess sugar. No. You don't eat any sugar. Any like candy or table sugar, it's out because your body already eats sugar naturally through your diet. So, but I started doing baked goods and I added sugar, because the instructions said sugar. But I noticed that, I don't know, your subconscious is like saying, sugar? I thought you gave up sugar. You gave up sugar with coffee. You gave up sugar with tea. It's just like that. Your body's really smart. And you go, it's almost like your body has AIs inside it, different functions of your living organisms. Like, seriously. Because it's like, and I got sugar and I put it in the recipe and it was like, when was the last time you had sugar? Just sugar. And I was like, I don't know. So anyway, as a vegan, it was like, that you don't eat sugar, so why you... So anyway, it was in the recipe, so I did it. I put it in the recipe. And I was going full blast on these, bacon things that I didn't want to eat. I didn't want to, how can I say? I didn't want to eat, I didn't want to eat outside. I didn't want to pay for food outside, okay? So, I would put the sugar in. And I saw it, I showed you the thing. But then I noticed one thing. I got sick. It was like, because I was just eating my baked goods. But I already knew what was wrong because I stopped eating sugar. I know my body was telling me because the thing about it is that I stopped eating sugar when I was a vegan. And that table sugar just stopped completely. That was the first thing before candy. And so anyway, I didn't really listen. Not that I didn't listen. I didn't believe. Not that I listened. I just overlooked it. I overlooked the fact that I did give up table sugar. Some things, but like sometimes I eat a cookie or something like that, have table sugar, but not constantly like I was doing it, And I don't think in their baked goods, in the baked goods in the store, I don't know how in the world they make their thing. There's so many instructions when I just eat it like that. I just, it's not that I do it all the time. I know it's not good, but I'll eat it. And but anyway, we're talking about just table sugar. So I decided, because I got sick, a cold, whatever a cold is. Cold means now you get a cold. Nobody knows. It could be 1,000 things that gives us a cold. Now I know it's not just cold. It's not just in the wintertime. You do get it in the summertime. But you're protected by the sun because your body's cold, but it's hot, and it's good that it's hot because you don't feel it as much. But when you have air conditioning, you have to put a lot of clothes on and stuff like that to heat up your body. That's what I learned when I was a kid. So anyway, I went over that so many times with you. But what I'm trying to say is, so I had to change the pastries. Because I know what it was, because I went over everything and I said, it's got to be because I don't eat table sugar anymore. So I gotta stop putting table sugar. Anyway, I noticed something a while back when I was eating. Okay, like I know you have to have salt, and I put salt in things. But I noticed, like, when I put salt in beans, and I was like, if I put too much, it's like it destroys the whole flavor. And the same thing with sugar. It's like when I taste the sugar in the pastries now, it just destroys this natural flavor that you enjoy as a vegan. Something just natural. So I made yesterday. These. I made yesterday. Let me see if I can show you. Okay. I don't want to get crumbs. Just place. So I made this cornbread. I put dates in it, not sugar. And I just put dates in it. It was a last minute thing, and it was natural sugar. Natural sugars I don't have any problem with. And no table sugar. It's just the table sugar that I think that I have a problem with. Definitely, I know it's other sugars, but the first one I quit when I was a vegan was the table sugar, and I was putting table sugar in here, so I stopped putting table sugar. And I noticed after 12 years of being a vegan, I started tasting things. I had a better taste for natural things without sugar, and it was like, wow, this has a nice flavor, like coffee. For instance, I have coffee, and when I was not a vegan, let me see, when I was not a vegan, let me turn this off too. Okay. Let me turn this off. So when I was not a vegan, I always put sugar in my coffee. Had to. Now I can taste the flavor of coffee. And it's good. But I gotta make this a little bit stronger next time. But it's good. Anyway, I don't want to waste coffee either. So there we have it. So now, do I like my cornbread with sugar or with no sugar? Because we're going to do some baked goods too, and I hope it works without the sugar. So I'm going to taste it, but I eat very sloppy, and I hope it doesn't look bad on the screen. But I'm just want to show you how I like it or not. If I don't, it's going to show you right here. Maybe I'm going to cut the piece a little bit smaller. So it's no sugar and but it does have the dates in it. And I know it didn't have any. I know it wasn't going to affect the baking because sugar. I don't know if does it melt or whatever happens. Let me see. It's so much better. And then it has the dates in it. It's a dream. Yes, it works. So anyway, we got I got my music videos coming out. Please get ready for them, watch them, and we're gonna do bread this week. It's not bread. I told somebody at work. It's not bread. It's not bread. It's buns. Okay. It's cardamom. Cardamom buns. Okay? Thank you very much. I'll see you later. Good morning. I hope everything works out. Bye-bye.